After my secret relationship with a top-tier celebrity was exposed, I got dragged onto the trending charts and cursed out by everyone. He thought my status was too low, too embarrassing to acknowledge, so he immediately distanced himself. We're just ordinary friends. Please don't believe or spread rumors. I didn't cry or make a scene. I simply watched as he kept things ambiguously flirty with a rising starlet. Later, someone spread rumors that I was passionately kissing a genius director in a parking lot. Fans started cheering wildly, calling it so sweet. So sweet. That top idol completely lost it. His eyes red with frustration as he angrily questioned me. Why aren't you clarifying the rumors? Oh, because they weren't rumors. Chapter 01. My secret relationship with Brandon was exposed. Everyone was cursing me, saying a nobody like Solana wasn't worthy of a top-tier star like Brandon. The insults, even ones targeting my family, were endless. I clicked on a video that had been shared like crazy. It showed me, under lush blooming wisteria, taking the initiative to hug Brandon. That was half a year ago, on the anniversary of his mother's death. I found him alone in a corner of the park and stayed quietly with him for a long time. Until, slightly drunk, his voice hoarse, he pleaded, "Solana, can you hug me?" I had always cooperated with him in keeping our relationship a secret. I never expected that a cautious, gentle hug would be caught on camera and send me trending. I scrolled through the comments carefully and took a calm sip of warm water. They probably didn't know, Brandon was my family too. When I was 3, after my parents died, his mother adopted me. We grew up together for 22 years, and had been together for 5. This relationship, hidden from the light, had never received anyone's blessing. And now, after being suddenly exposed, it was being attacked from all sides. Brandon immediately released a statement to distance himself. Just friends. Don't believe or spread rumors. The situation only escalated further. His fans, and even self-proclaimed neutral bystanders, joined in, saying I wasn't even worthy of being his friend. That a nobody like me didn't belong on the same stage. Some even started digging into my past, trying to erase me from the entertainment industry by attacking my history. But in the end, the worst thing they found about me was dropping out of college to work and earn money for my adoptive mother's surgery. The unexpected discovery confused them for a moment, but they quickly snapped back and continued mocking. Classic image rehabilitation tactic. You think making up a tragic backstory, no parents, devoted to your adoptive mom, will make us pity you? Do you take netizens for idiots? I neither confirmed nor denied it. I exited the page and answered Brandon's call. His voice sounded heavy. Don't say anything reckless. Our statuses don't match. This isn't the right time to go public. 5 years. There had never been a right time. And now, even less so, because his on-screen pairing with the rising star Clara was trending hard. Best couple. Destined lovers. Instant chemistry whenever they appeared together. Those tags kept popping up. If my video hugging him hadn't suddenly surfaced and disrupted things, everyone would still be obsessing over the ambiguous relationship between him and Clara, one they had never clarified. Just like the comments that got buried under the flood of hate toward me. Support Brandon and Clara, Solana. Get lost. Solana, you shameless woman. Stay away from our couple. The popularity of their ship had already taken a sharp dive. My gaze fell on the variety show playing on my tablet. Brandon looked at Clara with a gentle smile in his eyes as he spoke. The editors clearly knew what they were doing. A pink heart exploded between them on screen. The live comments went wild. I tightened my grip on my phone and said to him, very seriously, Brandon, let's break up. There was a pause in his breathing, as if he were holding something back. Solana, can you stop messing around? If you were just a bit more famous, would I have to struggle like this? Chapter 02. He said it was all because I wasn't famous enough. In the entertainment industry, being unknown is the original sin. Unlike me, no matter how hard I tried, I remained stuck in that lukewarm, neither here nor there position. Brandon was much luckier. By his third drama, he played a beautiful, tragic, yet powerful second male lead and instantly blew up, rising straight into top-tier fame. From then on, scripts and endorsements flooded in. He became so busy that he barely had time to see me. Even when we did meet, he would come fully disguised, afraid of being photographed, say a few hurried words, and leave. So aside from that less than 30-second clip of us hugging, there was no further evidence to dig up. Just a hug, something that could be explained in any way. Brandon told me casually, the entertainment industry never lacks news. As long as something bigger happens, the attention will fade. I wasn't allowed to explain, not allowed to speak, not allowed to affect his reputation. But in reality, the trending topic refused to die down. During that time, Clara reposted Brandon's clarification and told netizens, "Don't believe rumors. Don't spread rumors." That pushed the attacks against me into yet another peak. So much so that when someone occasionally asked, "Did Solana commit some unforgivable crime or something?" they would get attacked along with me, until a new topic suddenly dropped into the top trending spot. Genius director interview. The public's attention shifted instantly. The topic of my relationship with Brandon dropped visibly, shrinking at a speed the eye could follow. Replacing it were all kinds of trending tags related to Logan, rapidly climbing. I looked at that name and softly read it aloud. Logan, the genius director whose very first film exploded into fame, sweeping major awards, undefeated since his debut. He rarely appeared in public, but every time he did, he trended. In the interview footage, he sat on a leather sofa in a black and white hoodie. There was a bit of dust on his sleeves, as if he had rushed straight to the set, too hurried to even change into proper clothes. The short video, only a few minutes long, was edited into countless clips by netizens. The most frequently circulated segment was when the host asked him, "Director Logan, what kind of artist do you dislike the most?" Logan paused for a moment, then looked straight into the camera and said, word by word, "Those without a sense of responsibility. For example, someone who is clearly in a relationship, yet still uses dating rumors to maintain popularity, while not daring to acknowledge their real girlfriend." I froze when I saw that. As expected, gossip accounts quickly seized the moment to stir things up. They linked Logan's statement with Brandon's clarification, implying that Logan was throwing shade at Brandon. Fans from both sides immediately started arguing. Brandon's fans snapped back angrily. Logan said he dislikes artists who don't dare to go public with their girlfriend. What does that have to do with our Brandon? Logan's fans responded calmly. Our director Logan is just honestly expressing his thoughts. Some people shouldn't be so quick to take it personally. Their names quickly flooded the trending comment sections, the argument escalating endlessly. At one point, someone seemed to notice something off. Wait, weren't we supposed to be dragging Solana? How did this get derailed? But the comment was quickly drowned out. My phone suddenly lit up with a new message. It was a casting notice from my agent. She sounded excited, telling me the role had strong emotional depth and complexity. With such a production team, if I managed to land it, I might even win a major award, so I had to seize the opportunity. But I opened the page, my gaze falling on the director column. Logan, Chapter 03. I went to the audition. In the corridor outside the glass doors, many actors were already waiting. I held my phone, turning the screen on and off several times before realizing I was nervous. But I didn't know what I was nervous about. Back when I had just entered the industry, I used to feel uneasy because I didn't understand anything. But later, after seeing all kinds of behind-the-scenes deals and last-minute role replacements, I had learned to approach every audition with complete calm, do my best, then accept any outcome. It had been a long time since I last felt nervous about an audition. After thinking about it carefully, maybe it was because of what my agent said. Logan is famous in this industry for ignoring background and popularity. He only cares about acting. My thoughts were suddenly interrupted by an intense gaze. I turned my head and unexpectedly met a pair of deep, quiet eyes. Logan was wearing a simple white t-shirt and black pants. A few strands of hair fell messily across his forehead. He held a gray mug in one hand, leaning casually against a doorframe at the end of the corridor. He was looking at me. My heartbeat skipped, almost flustered. I quickly lowered my head, as if nothing had happened. He turned and walked into the audition room. His assistant came out shortly after, handing each actor a script card. Holding my resume, I turned off my phone and forced my attention onto the scene I was about to perform. The film was called Twofold Kill, a revenge story about twin sisters. The younger sister, a ruthless yet emotionally pure assassin, impersonates her gentle but cold innocent flower older sister. At school, She plays the role of a warm and approachable preschool teacher, seducing and ultimately killing a student's parent, one of her revenge targets. Using the same face to mimic another person's habits, the main challenge of the scene was to make it hard for the audience to notice at first. Yet later, when they look back, realize that every detail had been there all along. After all, it's impossible to completely become someone else. So while making it difficult to distinguish, you still have to retain the impersonator's most unique traits. That was how I finished performing the scene in the audition room. Logan stared at me for a long time without speaking, until his assistant softly reminded him, "Director?" He pressed down the black pen between his fingers, lowered his head, and let out a quiet laugh. Then, with an unreadable expression, he said to me, "Solana seems quite skilled at playing roles that involve impersonation." I froze slightly, not daring to respond, because I really did have real-life experience. 5 years ago, for money, I had impersonated my twin sister, who had been adopted by a wealthy businessman. I attended school in her place, lived her life, accepted all the constraints that came with her family background, and I was with her fiancé, Logan, until the eve of switching back our identities. I finished my final performance. After coming out of a movie theater with him, I said a completely ordinary goodbye, and exited his life entirely. I had thought we would never meet again in this lifetime, but in my second year after debuting, he suddenly burst onto the scene with a film, becoming a sensation overnight. The name Logan dominated entertainment headlines in a single night. At that time, Brandon wasn't famous yet. He bought 2 movie tickets. I arrived a little late because of filming. The moment I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Brandon's back from afar, ran toward him, and went in together. Later, halfway through the movie, sitting in the dim theater, I suddenly remembered, when I had run toward Brandon, the person who brushed past me, wearing a black baseball cap, was Logan. That realization made me inexplicably restless. I kept getting distracted, so much so that even now, I still don't know what happened in the second half of the film. And now, Logan's comment. It was impossible to tell whether it was praise or criticism. Chapter 04. Before my audition results were even out, Brandon and Clara announced that they would be co-starring in a historical romance drama. A top male idol paired with a trending starlet, almost everyone immediately labeled it a guaranteed hit. Of course, there were also antis mocking them mercilessly. Can 2 variety show regulars somehow cancel out their bad acting and make it good? Watch it end up being a hit that only their fans can see. Fans quickly brought up Brandon's breakout role, the one that made him famous overnight. But the truth was, I had secured that opportunity for him through personal connections. Before that, thanks to a few supporting roles that had gained some attention, I was actually a bit more well-known than Brandon. Later, when I was invited to a banquet, I accidentally saved a well-known producer on the terrace when he had an asthma attack, perhaps to repay the favor. When he started working on a new drama, he extended an offer to me. Aside from the male and female leads, I could choose any role. At the time, Brandon had been failing auditions repeatedly. Not only could he not land roles, but even when he did, they were insignificant parts that wouldn't last more than 3 episodes. So I gave the opportunity to him. I asked the producer to let him play the second male lead. During that period, I carefully analyzed his character's development arc, designed many details for him, and called him every time I had a break to walk him through the role. Whenever he tried to slack off or just get by, I firmly stopped him. In the end, the results didn't disappoint. After the drama aired, his popularity even surpassed the leads. With his striking looks and flawless performance, he was directly ranked among the best roles of the year. After that, on a variety show where he became a regular, he met Clara, who was loved by netizens for her pure and natural personality. With the show's deliberate editing and their ambiguous attitude, neither confirming nor denying anything, the 2 quickly attracted a massive fanbase. From then on, aside from occasionally playing similar roles, Brandon spent most of his time filming variety shows, walking red carpets, and shooting endorsements. Thinking about it now, his last drama was already a year ago. I exited the page and stopped paying attention. Instead, I picked out a highly rated film to study acting. The next time I saw Logan was a few days later, at a birthday party. The moment I stepped into the private room, I spotted him. Under soft, diffused lighting, Logan sat casually leaning against the back of a sofa in a trench coat, gently swirling the drink in his glass. Around him gathered a group of actors trying to strike up conversations. Even among so many attractive faces, his appearance stood out distinctly. I remembered clearly, once, he had made a cameo in his own film, appearing for less than half a minute. Yet after audiences noticed him, it sparked widespread discussion. It even created a trending topic, the entertainment industry's hidden gem. Countless people tried to find out who he was, leaving comments like, 3 minutes, I want all his information. He's definitely new. If I had seen him before, I wouldn't have forgotten. Until someone discovered that he was the film's director, Logan. Wails and screams instantly flooded the internet. And yet, none of it affected him in the slightest. He continued directing when it was time to direct, resting when it was time to rest. He never posted updates just to cater to his suddenly surging fanbase. From beginning to end, his social media had only one post, from 5 years ago. A photo of lush green foliage under a bright blue sky. Caption: Midsummer, Chapter 05. A friend dragged me over to make up the numbers for a game, and I ended up sitting in the farthest corner from Logan. My luck was terrible, I kept losing, and after a few rounds, I had drunk several glasses of low-alcohol fruit wine. I got up to go to the restroom. The corridor was covered with soft carpet, silent and still. As I passed a corner, a tall figure suddenly collapsed toward me. Instinctively, I reached out to support him and blurted, "Careful!" The next second, I was pulled into his arms. A familiar scent, heavy with alcohol, rushed toward me. I didn't look up, struggling to get free. He didn't let go, his grip tightening around my wrist. In front of me was the uneven rhythm of a heartbeat. Behind me, footsteps approached from afar. Warm breath pressed down slowly, closer, closer, until it brushed past my cheek. Restrained, controlled, his voice low and hoarse. "Sorry. I'm drunk. Mistook you for someone else." When I returned from the restroom, I stood at the doorway, gripping my phone, casually scanning the room. Logan was holding a glass, chatting effortlessly with others. Back in my seat, I overheard people beside me quietly discussing him. His talent, his background, speculations about his relationships. I lowered my head and took a sip of warm water, suddenly recalling something small. When Logan first became famous, paparazzi had followed him for a long time, trying to uncover his family background and relationship status. In the end, they only vaguely dug up that he seemed to have a former fiancé with whom the engagement had been called off. At the time, I had stared at that report, slightly dazed. Because before that, my sister had contacted me. She asked directly, "Solana, do you like Logan?" I froze. After a few seconds of silence, I gently replied, "I already have a boyfriend." With Logan, it was all just an act. To ease her concerns, I went on and on about my relationship with Brandon, and in the end, emphasized again, I promised Brandon I would always be with him. From the other end of the call came soft breathing. After a long silence, she let out a faint sigh and said, "Okay." I never knew why they still broke off the engagement, but ever since the impersonation arrangement ended, I had deliberately avoided running into Logan. Even later, when we both entered the entertainment industry and had to attend the same events, I would pretend not to know him. Until this time, when I took the initiative to audition for his film, I found myself uncontrollably replaying every detail of that audition day. Setting aside objective reasons, subjectively, would Logan choose someone who looked exactly like his former fiancé? I didn't know. What I knew even less was, when he said he mistook me for someone else, who did he think I was? That night, after many years, I dreamed again of being with Logan, in a finance class. He sat with me in the corner of the classroom. The midsummer breeze stirred the white curtains by the window, light and shadows shifting. He rested his head on one hand, looking at me with a half smile. When the teacher wasn't paying attention, he suddenly leaned closer and let out a low laugh. "If you can't follow the lecture, we might as well do something else." I held the cap of my pen, turned my head, and glared at him, silently mouthing, "No." Since I had promised to attend school in her place, I had to follow through. Even if I didn't understand a single word the teacher was saying. A faint scent of gardenia lingered in the air. I rested my head on the desk, drifting into drowsiness, half asleep, half awake. I saw Logan's face drawing closer, closer, until he kissed the corner of my lips. I suddenly opened my eyes. 3:30 a.m. Outside the window, the sky hovered between night and day, glowing with a faint purplish-blue light, suppressing the restlessness in my chest. I got up and poured myself a glass of water. The cool water slid down my throat. Sleep vanished. I waited for dawn. On my phone lay a quiet message. The audition result for Twofold Kill, Chapter 06. Filming started a month later. My agent was right. This really was an opportunity. For that, I made a lot of preparations, and the performance went relatively smoothly. The makeup artist on set sighed with emotion and said to me, "Director Logan really has a sharp eye. You won't find anyone in the entertainment industry more suitable for the female lead than you. Whether it's appearance or temperament, you fit perfectly. It's almost like the script was tailor-made for you." My hand paused on the script. I lifted my head and looked at the tall, slender figure reflected in the mirror. Logan was explaining a scene to a male actor. He was so meticulous that even the slightest facial expressions and eye movements were analyzed frame by frame. Suddenly, I recalled something a staff member had said to me a few days ago after filming wrapped. "Solana, your impersonation scene was incredible. If I hadn't read the script beforehand, I wouldn't have been able to tell whether you were playing the sister or the younger twin at that moment." After saying that, he turned to Logan, who was taking notes. "Director Logan, don't you think so?" Logan paused mid-writing, glanced at me, then continued. I could tell. The smile on my face froze. Before I could think further, the staff member clicked his tongue. "Right, of course. You're the director. I shouldn't have even asked." My thoughts returned to the present. My gaze slowly shifted from him in the distance back to my own reflection in the mirror. He said he could tell. Late summer brought frequent rain, warm and humid. Tonight's scene was about the younger sister. After switching identities, unexpectedly encountering the older sister's boyfriend. In fact, this film didn't really have a male lead. The boyfriend had very little screen time, barely even sharing scenes with the older sister. His purpose was simply to create tension for the audience, making them worry that the younger sister might be exposed. In the end, he even turned himself in, attempting to take the blame. But until the film ended, it was never revealed whether he did it for the older sister or for the younger one. Logan personally played the role of the older sister's boyfriend. A sudden thunderclap split the night. I opened the door to the older sister's house, preparing to go out and kill. But the moment the door opened, I saw a familiar handsome face. Rainwater clung to the strands of hair on his forehead. His dark eyes were veiled with the mist of a late summer night. I froze, tightening my grip on the doorframe, speaking stiffly. "Samuel, why are you back early? Didn't you say tomorrow night?" Our eyes met. The umbrella fell to the ground. Suddenly, he stepped forward and pinned me behind the door. Thunder rumbled continuously, my heartbeat accelerating. His voice was low and gentle. "Because I missed you so much." The intensity was overwhelming. I struggled to get up. My legs were restrained. His breath brushed against my ear. "Didn't you miss me?" "Yes." The line slipped out instinctively. My hands were free, but my waist was firmly held. I cautiously pressed my hands against his chest, but he advanced step by step. "Then say you like me. Say you like me." The sound of rain grew louder and louder, so loud that I seemed to hear that summer 5 years ago, when he had trapped me beneath the eaves on a rainy day. 30% force, 70% coaxing. "Baby, say you like me." My throat felt dry and tight. Everything around me fell silent. The ambiguous atmosphere carried a subtle sense of losing control. Warm, damp, unbearable. At that moment, my acting slipped. My thoughts became a mess. I couldn't tell whether I was the older sister or the younger one anymore. But the lines I knew by heart surfaced in my mind and fell from my lips. "I like you." Chapter 07. Halfway through filming, I ended up in the hospital. Days of high-intensity work, combined with a cold from filming in the rain that never fully healed, caused me to spike a high fever the day after I finished that scene with Logan. It came on fast and fierce. I forced myself to take some medicine, but in the end, I still collapsed on set. before my consciousness faded. The last thing I heard was a panicked, urgent voice calling, "Solana." When I woke up, I was in the hospital. The first thing I saw was the TV mounted on the wall across from me. It was playing one of my early dramas. The room was quiet. The TV was on mute. Logan sat on the sofa beside the bed, resting his head on one hand. I couldn't see his expression clearly, but I could tell he was watching seriously. For some reason, it made me feel like a student being evaluated by a teacher. After all, he was a well-known director. I waited for a while, finally reaching the end of my scene. Just as I was about to speak, the screen switched to another one of my dramas, letting out a quiet breath. I coughed softly to draw his attention. Logan walked over, bent down naturally, and asked, "How do you feel? Still uncomfortable? Thirsty?" I looked at his face so close to mine, instinctively turning my head slightly away. My voice came out hoarse and broken. "Where's Gabby?" She was my assistant. She went to buy porridge just now. A spoonful of warm water was brought to my lips. Logan said calmly, "Drink some water. It'll help your throat." I instinctively tried to sit up, a little flustered. "I can drink it myself." The next second, my shoulders were supported. Logan half pulled me into his arms and handed me the cup. "You don't have the strength. I'll hold you." The TV continued playing my drama. I leaned against him on the hospital bed, my mind still foggy from the illness. I hurriedly gulped down the water with his help. Before I could lie back down, the door opened, and a phone rang at the same time. Gabby walked in, looking serious, carrying a food container. Behind her was Brandon, his expression equally grim. Logan answered his phone, glanced back once, then said to Gabby, "Feed her." Before walking out of the room, the container was opened in front of me. Gabby said, "I ran into Brandon downstairs just now." I leaned against the bed and gave a soft mem, signaling for her to step out first. The room fell silent again. I lowered my head, weakly stirring the plain porridge with a spoon, wondering why Brandon had come to the hospital. At this time, he should have been on set. The TV was suddenly turned off. Brandon tossed the remote onto the table, his voice low. "What did you trade for that female lead role from him?" My hand holding the spoon paused. I frowned and looked at him. "I got the role through my acting." "Solana, are you joking?" He let out a scornful laugh. "With your level of popularity and non-existent background, you think he'd just hand you the lead role for no reason? He's different. He doesn't care about those things." Brandon stared at me, his eyes full of mockery. "Doesn't care? You really think that's possible? Solana, where in this world do you think things come that easy?" I lowered my head. I couldn't swallow another bite of porridge. "Right, where do things come that easily? That's why I was asked to repay kindness, take care of his mother, stay with him for life, always treat him well. That's why even my own sister required an identity swapping agreement in exchange for giving me money for surgery." "Then, what about Logan?" The door opened. A familiar voice cut in. "Why not?" Logan walked in with his hands in his pockets. Stepping in front of me, he spoke casually to Brandon. "And you, Brandon, aren't you overstepping? You said it yourself. You're just ordinary friends." A dark edge pressed between Brandon's brows, his tone cold. "That's still between her and me." Logan let out a low laugh, looking almost innocent. "But you're scaring my female lead." Chapter 08. In the end, Brandon was called away by a phone call from Clara. After lying in the hospital for 3 days, I returned to the set and continued filming. From beginning to end, Logan never asked about my relationship with Brandon. He truly treated me only as the female lead of his film. We started filming in the height of summer and wrapped up at the end of autumn. I returned to the hotel and rested for a while, letting my mind empty. Stepping out of the role, the day I saw Brandon and Clara trending, I had just finished watching Logan's very first film. After the female lead fell into the sea and reached her final ending, the frame froze on shimmering fragments of light on the water's surface, dreamlike, unreal. I went online to look up discussions from back then, but unintentionally saw that the top trending topics were all about Brandon and Clara. Their drama had also wrapped. #Brandon accompanies Clara to the hospital. I opened the photo. It was from the day Brandon showed up in my hospital room. #Clara's professionalism is exemplary. She had cut her finger during an action scene but insisted on finishing filming before going to the hospital for treatment. Hashtag Brandon and Clara are real. Various behind-the-scenes clips and photos of their sweet interactions on set. I scrolled casually through the rest of the trending topics, half true, half manufactured, boring. Just as I was about to exit, I suddenly noticed a tag climbing rapidly. Hashtag Solana, Logan, too clean, simple names. Each refresh pushed it higher, until it reached the very top, marked with a deep red explosive. My fingers trembled slightly as I tapped into it. It was a video with views skyrocketing exponentially. The image was clear, but the lighting was dim. You could only vaguely make out the movements of the two people in it. Soon, people recognized who they were. It was the scene Logan and I had filmed together. Some staff member must have secretly recorded a short clip and posted it. To my surprise, I had expected it to be like the incident with Brandon, attacked by countless people. But instead, everyone was discussing the tension between me and Logan in the scene. The chemistry is insane. I've been replaying this over and over. I can't stop. What do I do? I'm starting to ship director Logan and his female lead. The topic stayed trending for a full day and night, firmly overshadowing every single tag about Brandon and Clara. During that time, someone even created a fan community for me and Logan as a ship, naming it Midsummer Love. More experienced netizens began digging for past moments where Logan and I had appeared in the same frame. But the result was disappointing. Because I had deliberately avoided him, there were barely any such moments. And even when there was no interaction at all, not even a glance exchanged. When he looked at me, I wasn't looking at him. When I looked at him, he wasn't looking at me. The shippers complained in frustration. Isn't this a little too clean? I'm starving here. I laughed at the comments, glanced a bit more, then stopped paying attention, until Brandon called me, his tone not particularly pleasant, asking what my relationship with Logan was. Confused, I opened Logan's page. He had posted a photo of me from the film. Green slip dress, softly curled hair, big eyes, pale skin. It was the younger sister. This was his promotional poster for the film, his first update since Midsummer. I stood up and poured water into a glass, answering casually. The relationship between a director and his female lead. Chapter 09. Brandon was angry. His voice tightened as he reminded me, Solana, don't forget, you're my girlfriend. Then, before I could respond, he hung up with a sharp click. After that, the trending topics about him and Clara became even more frequent, all part of the build-up for their drama release. As for the film Twofold Kill, aside from that one leaked clip, there was nothing else. The next update was the official release date announcement. Unfortunately, it was set for the exact same day as Brandon and Clara's historical romance drama. I finished watching all of Logan's films. Then I booked a ticket for Twofold Kill, thanks to Logan's built-in reputation and popularity. Even with minimal promotion, the theater was packed. The lights dimmed. The movie began. It was also my first time seeing the final cut. Unlike the playback footage during filming, with the addition of music and color grading, the film's effect was elevated to another level. I had to admit, Logan truly was talented. Almost the moment the first screening ended, my name shot onto the trending charts. Not tied to anyone, just Solana. Following that were tags like Solana acting, older sister, and younger sister. My follower count surged. My photos flooded the internet. All the dramas I had ever acted in were dug up again. My agent called, her voice filled with excitement and a barely hidden choke of emotion as she repeated over and over, I knew it. I knew you would make it. Solana, your acting has always been this good, you just needed a chance. After hanging up, I walked out of the cinema. My mood was unexpectedly calm. It was raining outside, not heavily, but with a faint chill, clear, sobering. A mist rose in my eyes, my vision gradually blurring. Suddenly, something shielded me from above, a tilted umbrella. Logan stood beside me in a black coat, holding the handle, looking straight ahead, planning to end up in the hospital again? The ground was wet, neon lights reflecting into a continuous blur. Hazy, ambiguous, impossible to look away from. I lowered my head and explained softly, I didn't mean to get caught in the rain. I just forgot to bring an umbrella. I happen to have one. We can head back together. After the movie's release, the number of people shipping me and Logan increased again, but there was simply too little content between us. So little that fans began imagining what might have happened behind every interaction we had, filling in the gaps left in the film themselves. They excitedly discussed, "The sugar you piece together yourself is the sweetest. Even if it doesn't exist, we can create it. Still better than spoon-fed, artificial romance." Like Brandon and Clara's drama, it flopped, quietly, almost without a trace. On premiere night, it was completely overshadowed by trending topics about me. The only time it trended afterward was #terrible. Fans on both sides started frantically shifting the blame, blaming the production team for messing up the plot, blaming the female lead's acting, blaming the male lead's formulaic performance, blaming rival fandoms for sabotage, blaming the editor's lack of skill, the stylist's poor taste, blaming the audience for having no taste. I saw Brandon again at an awards ceremony. Twofold Kill was a massive success and won awards. My seat had moved from the farthest corner to the front row. Everyone suddenly seemed warm and friendly. The cameras landed on me again and again. I stood up, lifted the hem of my dress, and walked past Brandon without sparing him a glance. Toward the stage, Logan, in a sharp, elegant suit, followed half a step behind me. Unhurried, the trophy was carefully placed into my hands, heavy. The camera slowly swept across Brandon's face in the audience. He clapped along with everyone else, though the smile didn't reach his eyes. As usual, the host asked Logan if he had anything to say. He leaned slightly toward the microphone, serious and focused. "I'd like to thank my female lead." Chapter 10. After the ceremony, Brandon stopped me downstairs in my apartment complex. Dusk had fallen. There were few people around. He stood against the light, his expression unclear as he looked at me. "Today is my birthday." Just as expected. Every year, on the anniversary of his mother's death and on his birthday, he would cling to me like this. I didn't go upstairs. Instead, I took him to a private restaurant. The cake I ordered on the way arrived at the same time as we did. Unwrapping the ribbon, lighting the candles, wishing him a happy birthday. I did it all as skillfully as I always had. Outside the wooden-framed windows, the sound of flowing water drifted softly. Brandon stared at the flickering candlelight without moving. "In the past, you always made my birthday cakes yourself." I leaned back casually in my chair and told him calmly, "That won't happen anymore." He froze for a moment, as if he didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "When I said we should break up last time, it wasn't a suggestion. It was a notice." The candles burned lower. He stared at me tightly, offering a rare explanation. "Clara and I are just doing normal publicity. Now that you're popular, I can." "Brandon." I cut him off, no longer patient, and opened a video on my phone. It showed him and Clara, clothes disheveled, coming out of a hotel elevator and then swiping a card to enter a room. The timestamp was from before the video of me hugging him was exposed. Silence. The video looped, until he suddenly slammed the phone face down on the table. I stood up to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, tightly. It hurt. He didn't look at me. His voice came out hoarse, broken. "You promised you'd stay with me forever." Stay with him forever. Give up my freedom, wear the shackles. Because of 11 years of being raised. That's what I had done all this time. At 15, I started taking care of your sick mother. At 18, I gave up school to earn money for your education and your mother's treatment. At 21, I gave you my acting opportunity. At 24, when our relationship was exposed, I followed your request, said nothing, and took all the blame. Brandon, today is your 25th birthday. I tossed the phone back in front of him. Either we break up, or we expose everything, me, you, and her. I can stay with you forever. I looked at the veins tightening at his temple, betting that he wouldn't be willing to give up everything he had now, his status, his reputation. As expected, the grip on my wrist loosened. Bit by bit, the candles burned out and extinguished themselves. He said nothing. I turned and left. Back at the apartment complex, the elevator rose floor by floor. My sister's cool voice echoed in my ears. "Solana, is that your little boyfriend?" He just happened to be at one of the hotels under our family. The girl in his arms doesn't look like you. She put it gently, but I understood clearly. After a moment of silence, I softly said thank you. She sighed lightly, sounding a little apologetic. I'm just a powerless heiress with no real authority right now. I can't help you much. Maybe you could find. Sister, I interrupted gently. It's okay. Just knowing you exist is already enough. After all, everyone has their own difficulties. Even she, who had never lacked for anything since childhood, had no freedom. She gave up her own pursuits and was forced into an arranged marriage. That was why she had come to me back then, to escape her adoptive father's control and elope with someone she loved, only to later realize that person loved only her status. So she decisively broke up, returned, and resumed her role as a wealthy heiress, accepting the family's arranged marriage. It was also that year, Brandon's mother passed away, and he placed the shackles of girlfriend onto me. Chapter 11. At the belated celebration banquet, I was surrounded by people, playing games. Again. Games. My luck had always been terrible. The spinning bottle pointed at me once more. The stylist asked, "Who was your first kiss with?" Holding my glass, I didn't dare let my gaze wander. I downed it in one go. I choose punishment. A fellow actress in the group muttered helplessly. Solana, how much have you had to drink tonight? You haven't answered a single truth question. Are you afraid? I smiled faintly and changed the subject. It's not that I'm drinking a lot. It's just that my luck in games is bad. A new round started. I stared nervously at the bottle as it spun, until it stopped. Not me. I let out a breath of relief. The next second, someone shouted excitedly, "It's Director Logan!" The only time all night it pointed at him. Someone pointed at me and suggested, "Let the female lead ask the question." I declined politely, but I soon regretted it. Because after discussing, they came up with a question. What kind of girl was Director Logan's first love? That question actually included whether there even was one. Faced with everyone's bright, curious eyes, Logan's gaze seemed to drift faintly toward me across the table. Calmly, he described, big eyes, fair skin, about 165 centimeters tall, slim waist, long legs, very beautiful when she smiles, and cold, ruthless when she needs to be. My heart felt like it had been tied with a thin thread, tightening bit by bit. The atmosphere froze for a moment. Someone spoke up, puzzled. Why does that sound like the female lead in Twofold Kill? But that description is so broad. Isn't it? Director Logan. Is she in the industry or not? In the industry or outside? Is she the older sister or the younger one? Logan calmly spun the bottle again without even lifting his eyes. That's the next question. But until the end, the bottle never pointed at him again. Near the end of the gathering, I got up to go to the restroom. After touching up my lipstick, the alcohol slowly began to hit me. As I passed a corner, history repeated itself. I stumbled into a burning hot embrace. My legs went weak. I clutched his clothes and looked up. Our eyes met and locked. Suddenly, he dragged me into an empty room, pinned my legs, held the back of my neck, and leaned in to steal my breath. An invasion, possession, inch by inch. He took everything. In the darkness, only heavy breathing remained. Just before my heart felt like it would explode, he finally let go. Logan's voice was hoarse as he said calmly, "Sorry, had too much to drink. Mistook you for my first love." I pressed a hand to my chest, breathing rapidly, and exposed his lie without hesitation. "You didn't drink." I'm not drunk." The moment he said that, I pressed my lips together and fell silent. I couldn't see anything, only my chaotic heartbeat. He stood there with me patiently, still silent. I was the one who gave in. "Logan, did you recognize me a long time ago?" I softened my breathing, clenched my fingers, and said quietly, "I'm sorry." That agreement, one that benefited everyone. It seemed that only he had been left with deception, guilt, bitterness, self-blame, all tangled together, never gone. "I don't want your apology," I asked instinctively. "Then what do you want?" "To end the relationship between director and female lead with you." The alcohol dulled my thoughts. I didn't understand. Why? His breath drew close, each word clear. Because I want a relationship with you, where we can share the same umbrella. Chapter 12. Logan drove me home. Entering the underground parking garage, the car window was half open, cold wind blowing in the whole way. I sobered up a little and asked softly, "Did you break off the engagement because you found out my sister wasn't me?" "Not really. It was an arranged marriage to begin with, for interest. Even if we had married, once I secured my position, I would have still separated from her. I just didn't expect that the first person I met would be you, so the timeline moved up. And your sister doesn't like me either. She's completely detached now, focused only on gaining power. It doesn't matter who she ends up with." I paused, then turned to look at him. "What about the cost? The cost of breaking off the engagement early?" He spoke lightly, "Giving up my status as an heir, but it's nothing. I prefer making films anyway." "I'm sorry. I told you, I don't want your apology." I took a deep breath and looked at him seriously, trying to find something in his eyes. "Aren't you angry?" His fingers brushed against the steering wheel as he let out a soft laugh. "Of course I am. Angry that you lied to me and ran away. Angry that you pretended not to know me. Angry that you were with someone else. Angry that you were so ruthless. Back then, when your sister called you, I was standing right beside you. I was so angry I wanted to break your legs and lock you in a room forever, so you could never run again. So you could only see me." The guilt deepened. My lashes trembled as I looked at him. With every word he said, my breathing tightened, until his voice gradually softened, pausing for a few seconds before continuing. "But you've had such a hard life. How could I bear to stay angry at you?" Had such a hard life. For all these years. He was the first person to say that. Tears surged up unexpectedly. I turned my head away and said again, "I'm sorry." A soft sigh followed. His voice gentled. "Solana, do you really want to apologize that much?" I looked up, waiting for him to continue. "Then kiss me. If you kiss me, I'll take it as your apology, okay?" The moment the words fell, he suddenly leaned in, suffocating, heated, inescapable. My lipstick was completely gone, and the consequence of that, a few days later, Logan and I trended. #ParkingLotKiss. There was only one photo. Through the half-open car window, Logan's profile was clearly visible. He was leaning over the person in the passenger seat. Based on the exposed corner of clothing, my location, and posts from other actors that night mentioning the celebration banquet, people quickly confirmed. The person beneath him was me. The comment section erupted instantly. "Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so sweet." Another said, "I knew the way they avoided each other before was suspicious. This is killing me with sweetness." That very night, Brandon came to find me. He had been drinking, waiting in the hallway on the 23rd floor. The moment he saw me, he rushed over, eyes red, demanding, "Why didn't you clarify the rumors?" I instinctively took a step back, looking at him calmly. Silence, a stare down. Finally, as realization slowly dawned in his breaking gaze, I spoke. "Because it's not a rumor." The silence stretched too long. The motion sensor lights went out, then flickered back on. Brandon grabbed my arm, his tone confused and cautious. "Solana, you're just doing this to make me jealous, right? It must be because of Clara." He hurriedly explained. "Solana, I've never liked her. The one I like has always been you. Everything with her was just publicity. I just wanted you to show that you cared about me, not just because you were repaying a debt." I shook off his hand and stepped further away. That video was a tool for breaking up, not proof that I was jealous. "So, you never liked me at all." He let out a self-mocking laugh, his voice hoarse. "Is that it?" I didn't answer, which was answer enough. If my body had been trapped, then my heart had to be free. "Brandon, I gave you a chance. Expose everything, mutual destruction, and I would stay with him forever." But his love was too false. In the end, he only loved himself. After that, I didn't see him again for a long time. Instead, after his drama with Clara flopped, their fans turned on each other, digging up dirt and throwing accusations. Tags like Brandon using body doubles, Brandon green screen acting, Clara buying her way into the cast, and Clara forcing extra scenes kept appearing. This wave of mutual attacks wasn't fatal, but once the dirt started piling up, it only got worse. Both of their reputations declined. The entertainment industry moves fast. Without real work to support it, popularity is nothing but an illusion. Chapter 13. I saw Brandon again at an event ceremony. He was seated a few rows behind me. No interaction, too far apart. Not even a chance to brush past each other. When I went on stage to accept my award, the host smiled and teased politely. Many audience members are curious, what exactly is the relationship between Solana and director Logan? Fans below screamed excitedly. The camera briefly swept across Brandon's face before finally settling on Logan. Seated in the front row, refined features, gentle and composed, elegant and reserved, just like when I first met him. But for many years after that, I didn't dare to think, didn't dare to remember, and didn't dare to meet him, afraid that if I thought of him, I wouldn't be able to hide those memories, afraid that if I saw him, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from getting closer. He was never someone I was meant to have. With a bright smile, I glanced at him and answered the host. A relationship where we can share the same umbrella. After the event, the rain had already stopped. Sunlight filtered through from all directions. Even the clouds seemed to glow. I got into Logan's car, as if asking casually. He said, "Were you really planning to stay strangers with me forever?" I shook my head. No, I went to audition. I tried very hard. Tried to earn a chance to meet him again, even if we couldn't be together. I still wanted to know him again, to tell him, "Logan, my name is Solana." After saying that, I added, almost gratefully, "Luckily, there was this film. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how or when I could see him again." The car stopped at a red light. He let out a soft laugh and turned to look at me. "This film existed because I wanted to see you. Because he wanted to see me. He wrote the script so I would receive the audition. Because I wanted to meet him again. I fought to become the female lead." The light turned green. A breeze slipped in through the window, brushing against my face. Warm, intense, like a wave of summer heat. And like his presence, another midsummer had arrived.